Good evening. I'm Frank Sisson, president of Troupers Light Opera Company, and I've got a little list. First, I'd like to welcome you on behalf of all of us to this opening event of our 74th year. We've done a Gilbert and Sullivan or other operetta every year for the last 74, at least one, sometimes two. And to the East Coast premiere of Il Mikado, Gilbert and Sullivan's much-loved and well-known operetta, The Mikado, lovingly airlifted from Japan to Renaissance Europe. Mostly for the fun and novelty of the idea. You're in for a real treat tonight. So sit back and enjoy Il Mikado.
gentle maiden dwelleth named Amyam. The ward of Kroeger, in pity speak, oh speak, I pray you.
Why, who are you who ask this question?
Come, gather round me, and I'll tell you. A wandering minstrel I, a thing of shreds and patches, of ballads, songs, and snatches, and dreamy lullaby. My catalogue is long through every passion ranging, and to your humors changing, I tune my supple song. I tune my supple song. Are you in sentimental mood? I'll sigh with you. Oh, sorrow. On the maiden's coldness do you brood? I'll do so too. Oh, sorrow, sorrow. I'll charm your willing ears with songs of lovers' fears, while sympathetic tears my cheeks beat to you. Oh, sorrow, sorrow. But if patriotic sentiment is wanted, I've a patriotic ballads cut and dried. For where'er a country's banner may be planted, oh, love the look of banners undefined. Our warriors in sundry ranks assemble, never quit or they conceal it if they do. And I shouldn't be surprised if nations tremble before the mighty troops of Kiamisa.
We shouldn't be surprised if nation tremble with alarm before the mighty troops of Kiamisa.
And if you call for a song of the sea, or he that kept still around, with a young heave-ho, for the wind is free, a rank is a trip, and a helm's a lee, hurrah for the homeward bound!
Yo-ho, heave-ho, hurrah for the homeward bound!
To lie aloft in a howling breeze may tickle a landman's taste, but the happiest hour a sailor sees is when he's down at an inland town with his Nancy on his knees. Yo-ho! And his armor and her waist.
Then hand the caps, then off we go, as the fiddler swings us round. With a yo-heave-ho and a row-hee-ho, hurrah for the homeward bound. With a yo-heave-ho and a row-hee-ho.
Charades and patches, of ballads, songs, and snatches, and the dreamy lullaby, and the dreamy lullaby, dreamy
What business may you have with Amya?
I'll tell you. A year ago, I was a member of the Tiramisu Town Band. It was my duty to take the cap round for contributions. While discharging this delicate office, I saw Amyang. We loved each other at once, but she was betrothed to her guardian Kroeger, a cheap tailor. And I saw that my suit was hopeless. Overwhelmed with despair, I quitted the town. Judge of my delight when I heard a month ago that Coco had been condemned to death for flirting. I hurried back at once in the hope of finding Amyang at liberty to listen to my protestations.
It's true, Coco was condemned to death for flirting, but he was reprieved at the last moment and raised to the exalted rank of Lord High Executioner under the following remarkable circumstances. Our great Ducato, virtuous man, when he to rule our land began, resolved to try a plan whereby young men might best be steadied. So he decreed in words succinct that all who flirted, leered or winked, unless connubially linked, could forthwith be beheaded, forthwith be beheaded. And I expect you'll all agree that he was right to so decree. And I am right, and you are right, all is right as right can be.
And you are right, and we are right, and all is right as right can be. And all is right as right can be. Right as right can be.
Understand, caused great dismay throughout the land, for young and old and shy and bold were equally affected. The youth who winked a roving eye, or breathed a non-connubial sigh, was thereupon condemned to die. He usually objected. And you'll allow, as I expect, that he was right to so object. And I am right, and you are right, and everything is quite correct.
And you are right, and we are right, and everything is quite correct.
And everything is quite correct. All is quite correct. And so we straight let out on bail convict from the county jail, whose head was next on some pretext condemned to be mown off, and made him headsman, for we said, whose neck will be decapitated, and not off another's head until he's cut his own off, until he's cut his own off. And we are right, I have to say, to argue in this kind of way. And I am right, and you are right, and everyone is plurally.
And you are right, and we are right, and all the times we move plurally.
And I am right, and you are right, and all is right.
The cheap tailor, Lord High Executioner of Tiramisu? Why, that's the highest rank a citizen can attain.
It is. Our logical Ducato, seeing no moral difference between the dignified judge who condemns a criminal to die and the industrious mechanic who carries out the sentence, has rolled the two offices into one, and every judge is now his own executioner.
But how good of you, for I see that you are a nobleman of the highest rank, to condescend to tell all of this to me, a mere strolling minstrel.
Don't mention it. I am, in point of fact, a particularly haughty and exclusive person of pre-Adamite ancestral descent. You will understand this when I tell you that I can trace my ancestry back to a protoplasmal primordial atomic globule. Consequently, my family pride is something inconceivable. I can't help it. I was born sneering. But I struggle hard to overcome this defect. I mortify my pride continually. When all the great officers of state resigned in a body because they were too proud to serve under an ex-tailor, did I not unhesitatingly accept all their posts at once?
And the salaries attached to them, you did.
It is consequently my degrading duty to serve this upstart as First Lord of the Treasury, Lord Chief Justice, Commander-in-Chief, Lord High Admiral, Master of the Buckhounds, Groom of the Backstairs, Archbishop of Tiramisu, and Lord Mayor, both acting and elect, all rolled into one, and at a salary. A poobah paid for his services. I, a salaried minion, but I do it. It revolts me, but I do it.
And it does you credit.
But I don't stop at that. I go and dine with middle-class people on unreasonable terms. I dance at cheap suburban parties for a moderate fee. I accept refreshment at any hands, however lowly. And I retail in state secrets at a very low figure. For instance, any further information about Amyam would come under the head of a state secret. Another insult, and I think a light one. The young man despair, likewise go to Amyam the fair. You must not woo, it will not do. I'm sorry for you, you very imperfect ablutioner. Every day from school I'm young. Will wend away and homeward come, with beat of drum and rum-dum-dum, to end the Lord High Executioner. And the brass will crash, and the trumpets bray, and they'll cut to death on their wedding day. She'll toddle away as Oliver with the Lord High Executioner.
And the brass will clash, and the trumpets bray, and the cock will rush on the wedding day.
She'll toddle away as Oliver with the Lord High Executioner. It's a hopeless case, as you may see, and in your place away I'd flee. But don't blame me, I'm sorry to be of your pleasure a diminutioner. Well, thou that packed extremely soon, in point of fact this afternoon, her honeymoon with that buffoon who commences, so you shall her. And the brass will crash, and the trumpets bray, and they'll cut to death on their wedding day. She'll toddle away as Oliver with the Lord High Executioner.
And the brass will crash, and the trumpets bray, and they'll cut to death on their wedding day.
She'll toddle away as Oliver with the Lord High Executioner.
And have I journeyed for a month or nearly to learn that Amyam, whom I love so dearly, this day to Kako is to be united.
The fact appears to be as you've recited. But here he comes, equipped as suits his station. He'll give you any further information.
Gentlemen, I am much touched by this reception. I can only trust that by strict attention to duty, I shall ensure a continuance of those favors which will ever be my study to deserve. If I should ever be called upon to act professionally, I am happy to think that there will be no difficulty in finding plenty of people whose loss would be a distinct gain to society at large. As someday it may happen that a victim must be found, I've got a little list of those Renaissance repugnants whose rebirth does not resound, and who never would be missed. They're those would-be Mona Lisas with their irritating smiles, the Spanish Inquisitionists who don't believe in trials, that simpleton Da Vinci thinking someday man will fly, his colleague Michelangelo, whose art is much too high, and that holy Roman emperor who rules with holy fist. I've got them on the list, they'd none of them be missed.
He's got them on the list, he's got them on the list, and then none of them be missed, they'll none of them be missed.
There's that risque Botticelli painting bacchanalian scenes. He's an exhibitionist. I've got him on the list. And to ends that Machiavelli would quite justify the means. He never would be missed. Then there's Christopher Columbus sailing west to find the east. A Genoan turned Spaniard, I would like to turn deceased. And the bard whose name is Shakespeare, tossing off for work a year, either comedy or tragedy, to please the English ear. He's a singular anomaly, a playful plagiarist. I don't think he'd be missed. I'm sure he'd not be missed.
He's got him on the list. He's got him on the list. And in inspiration, if not be missed.
There's that fellow Galileo spinning earth around the sun. He was rightly booed and hissed. I've got him on the list. And Henry, King of England, chopping spousal heads for fun. His chopped off, what a twist! I've got him on the list. And all those who shirk hard work and say they're Renaissance's man, while writing pointless poetry and flitting with a fan. The plague in the Dark Ages may have ended for a few, but plagued with dark and dreary dolls, it seems we're not quite through. So it really doesn't matter who you put upon the list. They'd none of them be missed. They'd none of them be missed.
You may put him on the list. You may put him on the list. Let them none of them be missed. They'll none of them be missed.
It seems that the festivities in connection with my approaching marriage must last a week. I should like to do it handsomely, and I want to consult you as to the amount I ought to spend upon them.
Certainly. In which of my capacities, as First Lord of the Treasury, Lord Chamberlain, Attorney General, Chancellor of the Exchequer, Privy Purse, or Private Secretary?
Suppose we say, as private secretary.
Speaking as your private secretary, I should say that as the city will have to pay for it, don't stint yourself. Do it well.
Exactly as the city will have to pay for it. That is your advice.
As private secretary, of course, you will understand that as Chancellor of the Exchequer, I am bound to see that due economy is observed.
Oh, but you said just now, don't stint yourself, do it well.
As private secretary.
And now you say that due economy must be observed?
As Chancellor of the Exchequer.
I see. Come over here where the Chancellor can't hear us. Now then, as my solicitor, how do you advise me to deal with this difficulty?
As your solicitor, I should have no hesitation in saying cancel.
Thank you, I will.
If it were not that as Lord Chief Justice, I am bound to see that the law isn't violated.
I see. Come over here where the Chief Justice can't hear us. Now then, as First Lord of the Treasury.
Of course. As First Lord of the Treasury, I could propose a special vote that would cover all expenses. If it were not that as leader of the opposition, it would be my duty to resist it tooth and nail. Or as Paymaster General, I could so cook the accounts that as Lord High Auditor, I should never discover the fraud. But then as Archbishop of Tiramisu, it would be my duty to denounce my dishonesty and give myself over into my own custody as First Commissioner of Police.
That's extremely awkward.
Now, I don't say that all these distinguished people couldn't be squared, but it is right to tell that they wouldn't be sufficiently degraded in their own estimation unless they were insulted by a very considerable bribe.
The matter shall have my careful consideration. But my bride and her sister's approach, and any little compliment on your part, such as an abject grovel and a characteristic Milanese attitude, would be esteemed a favor.
Each 3 little maids from school are we, hard as a schoolgirl well can be, filled to the brim with girlish glee. 3 little maids from school. Everything is a source of fun. Oh, nobody's safe for we care for none. Life is a joke that's just begun. 3 little maids from school. 3 little maids who all unmarried come from a lady's seminary. 3 little genius to marry. 3 little maids from school. 3 little maids from school. 1 little maid is a bright and young. 2 little maids in attendance come. 3 little maids is a total sum. 3 little maids from school. From 3 little maids take 1 away. 2 little maids remain and they won't have to wait very long, they say. 3 little maids from school. 3 little maids from school. 3 little maids who all unmarry come from a lady's seminary. 3 from genius to Tulare. 3 little maids from school. 3 little maids from school.
At last, my bride that is to be.
No, you're not going to kiss me in front of all these people.
Well, that was the idea.
Oh, well, it seems odd, doesn't it? It's rather peculiar. Yes.
Oh, I expect it's all right. Must have a beginning, you know.
Well, I suppose I know nothing of these things, but I've no objection if it's usual.
Oh, it's quite usual, I think. Eh, Lord Chamberlain?
I have known it done.
Oh, thank heavens that's over with.
I beg your pardon, will you present me?
Oh, this is
One at a time, if you please.
If you please, this is the gentleman who played so beautifully on the,
On the Marine Parade.
Yes, I believe that was the name of the instrument.
Sir, I have the misfortune to love your ward, Amiens. Oh, I know I deserve your anger.
Anger? Not a bit, my boy. Why, I love her myself. Charming little girl, isn't she? Pretty eyes, nice hair, taking little thing altogether. Very glad to hear my opinion backed by a competent authority. Thank you very much. Goodbye. Take him away.
I beg pardon, but what is this? Customer come to try on?
That is a tremendous swell.
Oh, it's alive!
Go away, little girls. Can't talk to little girls like you. Go away. There's dears.
Allow me to present you, Poobah. These are my 3 wards. The one in the middle is my bride-elect.
What do you want me to do to them? Mind you, I will not kiss them.
No, you shan't kiss them. A little bow, a mere nothing. You needn't mean it, you know.
It goes against the grain. They are not young ladies. They are young persons.
Come, make an effort. There's a good nobleman.
Well, I shan't mean it.
Oh.
How did you? My protoplasmal ancestor.
That's very good.
I see nothing to laugh at. It is very painful for me to have to say, how do you do, little girls? How do you do? To young persons. I'm not accustomed to saying, how do you do, little girls? How do you do? To anyone under the rank of a stockbroker.
Don't laugh at him. He can't help it. He's under treatment for it. Never mind them. They don't understand the delicacy of your position.
We know how delicate it is, don't we?
I should think we did. How a nobleman of your importance can do it at all is a thing I never can, never shall understand.
So please us so we much regret if we have failed in etiquette. Towards a man of rank so high we shall know better by and by. But youth of course must have its fleet, so pardon us, and don't in girlhood's happy spring be hard on us, if we're inclined to dance and sing tra-la-la-la-la-la, tra-la-la-la-la-la. Must have its fleet so marvelous, and don't in girlhood's happy spring be hard. But youth of course must have its fleet so marvelous, tra-la-la-la-la-la-la, tra-la-la-la-la-la-la, tra-la-la-la-la-la-la-la, tra-la-la-la-la-la-la-la, tra-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la.
I think you ought to recollect you cannot show too much respect towards a highly titled few, but nobody does, and why should you? That youth at us should have its fling is hard on us, to our prerogative we think, so pardon us, if we decline to dance and sing tra-la-la-la-la-la, tra-la-la-la-la-la.
But youth of course must have its fling so pardon us, and don't in girlhood's happy spring be hard on us. But youth of course must have its fling so pardon us, tra-la-la-la-la-la-la-la, tra-la-la-la-la-la-la, tra-la-la-la-la-la-la-la, tra-la-la-la-la-la-la-la, tra-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la.
Anya, at last we're alone. I have sought you night and day for 3 weeks in the belief that your guardian was beheaded, and I find that you're about to be married to him this afternoon.
Alas, yes.
But you do not love him.
Alas, no.
Modified rapture. But why do you not refuse him?
What good would that do? He is my guardian, and besides, he wouldn't let me marry you.
But I would wait until you were of age.
You forget that in Milan, girls do not arrive at age of discretion until they are 50.
True. From years 17 to 49 are considered years of indiscretion.
And besides, a wandering minstrel who plays a wind instrument in the piazza is hardly a fitting husband for the ward of the Lord High Executioner.
But shall I tell her? Yes, she will not betray me. What if it should prove that, after all, I am no musician?
I was certain of it. Directly I heard you play. Oh my goodness.
What if it should prove that I am no other than the son of His Majesty, the Ducato?
The son of the Ducato? But why is your highness disguised? And what has your highness done? Oh, and will your highness promise to never do it again?
Some years ago, I had the misfortune to captivate Kadisha, an elderly lady of my father's court. She misconstrued my customary affability with expressions of affection and claimed me in marriage under my father's law. My father, the Lucius Junius Brutus of his day, ordered me to marry her within a week or perish ignominiously on the scaffold. That night, I fled his court and, assuming the disguise of a second trombone, I joined the band in which you found me when I had the happiness of seeing you.
Oh, I think your highness had better not come too near. The laws against flirting are excessively severe.
But we are quite alone, and nobody can see us.
Still, that doesn't make it right. To flirt is capital.
It is capital.
And we must obey the law.
Deuce take the law!
I wish it would.
If
But
it were
it
not for
won't.
that, how happy we might be.
Happy indeed.
If it were not for the law, we should now be sitting side by side, like that.
Oh, instead of being obliged to sit half a mile off, like that.
We should be gazing into each other's eyes, like that.
Breathing sighs of unutterable love like that.
With our arms around each other's waists, like that.
If it wasn't for the law.
If it wasn't for the law.
Well, as it is, we could not do anything of the kind.
Not for worlds.
Well, being engaged to Coco, you know.
Being engaged to Coco. Were you not to Coco plighted, I would say in tender tone, loved one, let us be united, let us be each other's own. I would merge our rank and station, worldly sneers are not to us, and to mark my admiration, I would kiss you fondly thus. I would kiss you fondly thus.
But as I'm engaged to Coco, to embrace you thus con fuoco would distinctly be no joco, and for that I should get Toco.
Toco,
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 Toco. So in spite of all temptation, such a theme I'll not discuss, and on no consideration will I kiss you fondly thus. Will I kiss you fondly thus? Let me make it clear to you, this is what I'll never do. This is what I'll never do. This is what I'll never do. I'll never do. Oh, this. Is what I'll never
There she goes. To think how entirely my future happiness is wrapped up in that little parcel. Really, it hardly seems worthwhile. Oh, matrimony! Now then, what is it? Can't you see I'm soliloquizing? You have interrupted an apostrophe, sir.
I come bearing a letter from Our Majesty the Ducato.
A letter from the Ducato? What in the world can you have to say to me? Ah, here it is at last. I thought it would come sooner or later. The Ducato is struck by the fact that no executions have taken place in Tiramisu for a year, and decrees that unless somebody is beheaded within 1 month, the post of Lord High Executioner shall be abolished, and the city reduced to the rank of a village.
But that would involve us all in irretrievable ruin.
Yes, there is no help for it. I shall have to execute somebody at once. The only question is, who shall it be?
Well, it seems unkind to say so, but as you're already under sentence of death for flirting, everything seems to point to you.
To me? What are you talking about? I can't execute myself.
Why not?
Why not? Because in the first place, self-decapitation is an extremely difficult, if not to say dangerous, thing to attempt. And in the second, it's suicide, and suicide is a capital offense.
That is so, no doubt.
You might receive that point.
True, it could be argued 6 months hence before the full court.
Besides, I don't see how a man can cut off his own head.
A man might try.
Even if you were only to succeed in cutting it half off, that would be something.
It would be taken as an earnest of your desire to comply with the imperial will.
No, but pardon me, there I am adamant. As official headsman, my reputation is at stake, and I can't consent to embark on a professional operation unless I see my way clear to a successful result.
This professional conscientiousness is highly creditable to you, but it leaves us in a rather awkward position.
My good sir, the awkwardness of your position is grace itself compared to that of a man engaged in the act of cutting off his own head.
I'm sorry, but unless you can provide a substitute.
A substitute? Oh, certainly. Nothing easier. Poobah, I appoint you Lord High Substitute.
I should be delighted. Such an appointment would realize my fondest dreams. But no, at any sacrifice, I must set bounds to my insatiable ambition. I am so proud, if I allowed my family pride to be my guide, I'd volunteer to quit this sphere instead of you in a minute or two. But family pride must be denied and set aside and mortified and mortified.
My brain it teems with endless schemes, both good and new. But hear me so, but if I flit the benefit that I diffuse, the town would lose. Now every man to aid his clan should plot and plan as best he can.
I heard one day a gentleman say that criminals who are caught in two can hardly feel the fatal steel, and so are slain without much pain. If this is true, it's jolly for you, your courage grew to bid us adieu.
I am so proud.
My brain it teems with endless schemes, both good and new. But if I flit the benefit that I diffuse, the town will lose. Now every man to aid his clan is plot and plan as best he can. And so, although I'm ready to go, yet recollect what disrespect did I neglect to thus effect the same direct, so I object.
And so, although I wish to go, and greatly pine to brightly shine, and take the line of a hero fine with grief undine, I must decline.
And go and show both friend and foe how much you dare. I'm quite aware if you're a fair, yet I declare I'd take your share, but I don't much care.
I must
So I object.
Care, but I don't.
So I object.
Care, but I don't.
So I object.
Care, but I don't.
So I object. So I object. So I object.
You sit in solemn silence in a dull, dark dock, in a pestilential prison with a lifelong lock, awaiting the sensation of a short, sharp shock, in a cheap and chippy chopper on a big black block. You sit in solemn silence in a dull, dark dock,
in a pestilential prison with a lifelong lock, awaiting the sensation of a shot, 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 from a chippy jumper on a big black clock, a long duck, a lifelong lock, a sharp, sharp shock, a big black clock, to soon solemn silence in a pestilential rain, and awaiting the sensation from a chippy jumper on a big black clock. This is simply appalling. I, who allowed myself to be respited at the last moment, simply in order to benefit my native town, am now required to die within a month, and that by a man whom I have loaded with honors. Is this public gratitude? Is this... Go away, sir. How dare you? Am I never to be permitted to soliloquize?
Oh, go on. Don't mind me.
What are you going to do with that rope?
I'm about to terminate an unendurable existence.
Terminate your existence? Oh, nonsense. What for?
Because you are going to marry the girl I adore.
Nonsense. I won't permit it. I am a humane man, and if you attempt anything of the kind, I shall order your instant arrest. Come, sir, desist at once, or I summon my guard.
That's absurd. If you attempt to raise an alarm, I instantly perform the happy dispatch with this dagger.
No, don't do that. This is horrible. This is... Why, you cold-blooded scoundrel, are you aware that in taking your life, you are committing a crime which is... Oh, substitute.
What's the matter?
Is it absolutely certain you are resolved to die?
Absolutely.
Will nothing shake your resolution?
Nothing.
Threats, entreaties, prayers, all useless?
All. My mind is made up.
Then if you really mean what you say, and if you're absolutely resolved to die, and if nothing whatever will shake your determination, don't spoil yourself by committing suicide, but be beheaded handsomely at the hands of the public executioner.
I don't see how that would benefit me.
You don't? Observe. You'll have a month to live, and you live like a fighting cock at my expense. When the day comes, there'll be a grand public ceremonial. You'll be the central figure, of course. No one would attempt to deprive you of that distinction. There'll be a procession. Bands, dead march, bells tolling, all the girls in tears, I'm distracted. Then when it's over, general rejoicings and a display of fireworks in the evening. You won't see them, but they'll be there all the same.
Do you think Amiam would really be distracted at my death?
I am convinced of it. Bless you, she's the most tender-hearted little creature alive.
I should be sorry to cause her pain. Perhaps, after all, if I were to withdraw from Milan and travel in America for a couple of years, I might contrive to forget her.
Oh, I don't think you could forget Amiam so easily. And after all, what is more miserable than a love-blighted life?
True.
Life without Amiam, why, it seems absurd.
And yet, there are a good many people in the world who have to endure it.
Poor devils, yes. You are quite right not to be of their number.
I won't be of their number.
Noble fellow.
I'll tell you how we'll manage it. Let me marry Amiam tomorrow, and in a month you may behead me.
No, I draw the line at Amiam.
Very good. If you can draw the line, so can I.
Stop, listen one moment, be reasonable. How can I consent to your marrying Amiam if I'm going to marry her myself?
My good friend, she'll be a widow in a month, and you can marry her then.
That's true, of course, I quite see that, but But dear me, my position during the next month will be most unpleasant, most unpleasant.
Not half so unpleasant as my position at the end of it.
But, well, dear me, I agree. After all, it's only putting off my wedding a month. But you won't prejudice her against me, will you? You see, I've educated her to be my wife. She's been taught to regard me as a wise and good man. Now, I shouldn't like her views on that point disturbed.
Trust me, she shall never learn the truth from me.
Congratulate me, gentlemen, I found a volunteer.
The miller needs a prevalent of here.
'Tis Nicolou.
Hail Nicolou.
I think he'll do.
Yes, he'll do.
He yields his life if Yam surrender. Now I adore that girl with passion tender, and could not yield her with a ready will, or her allot, if I did not adore myself with passion tender still, with passion tender still.
Ah, yes, he loves himself with passion tender still.
Take her, she's yours.
The threatened cloud has passed away.
And brighter shines the dawn of
But
day.
golden nights will come too soon.
It's a wonderful afternoon.
Then let the throng advance with laughing song as they dance. Let the throng of joy advance with laughing song and merry dance. With laughing song and merry dance. With laughing song. With joyous shout and ringing cheer. In all your age, with laughing shout and ringing
A day, a week, a month, a year.
Life's even cycles but
Then let the throng of joy advance with laughing song and merry dance. And let the throng of joy advance with laughing song and merry dance. With laughing song and merry dance. With laughing song. With joyous shout and ringing cheer. In all your age, in all your age, every family. With joyous shout and ringing cheer.
As in a month you've got to die, if Coco tells us true. 'twere empty compliment to cry long life to Nicolou. But as 1 month you have to live as fellow citizen, this toast with 3 times 3 will give long life.
yum.
Your annual pray merry, for all will be merry. I think you had better succumb.
Come.
And join our expressions of glee. On the subject I pray you be dumb.
Dumb.
You'll find there are many who went for a penny. The word for your guidance is mum.
Mum.
There's lots of good fish in the sea.
On the subject we pray you be dumb. We think you had better succumb. Come. You find there are many who went for a penny. There are lots of good fish in the sea. There are lots of good fish in the sea. There's lots of good fish in the sea. There's lots of good fish in the sea. In the sea, in the sea, in the sea, in the sea.
The hour of gladness is dead and gone. In silence and death I live alone. The hope I cherished all lifeless lies, and all has perished, all has perished, save love which never dies, which never dies. O faithless one, this insult you shall row. In name for mercy, on your knees you'll sue. I'll tear the mask of your disguising.
Now comes the blow.
Prepare yourselves for new surprising.
How foil my foe?
No minstrel heed despite bravado. I know he's the son of your. When they you interrupt with this tornado, he is the only son of your. Oil.
I am indeed beautiful. Sometimes I sit and wonder in my artless, villainous way how it is that I am so much more attractive than anybody else in the whole world. Could this be vanity? No. Nature is lovely and rejoices in her loveliness, and I am a child of nature and take after my mother.
The sun whose rays are all ablaze with ever-living glory does not deny his majesty, he scorns to tell a story. He won't exclaim, I blush for shame, so kindly be indulgent. But fierce and bold in fiery gold, he glories all effulgent. I mean to rule the earth as he the sky. We really know the sun and I. I mean to rule the earth as he the sky. We really know our worth, the sun and I. Observe his flame, that placid aim, the moon's celestial highness. There's not a trace upon her face of diffidence or shyness. She burrows light that through the night mankind may all acclaim her. And truth to tell, she lights up well, so I for one don't blame her. Ah, pray make no mistake, we are not shy. We are very wide awake, the moon and I. Ah, pray make no mistake, we are not shy. We are very wide awake, the moon and I.
Yes, the whole world seems to smile upon me. I'm to be married today to the man I love most, and I do believe I'm the happiest girl in Milan.
The happiest girl indeed, for she is indeed to be envied who has attained happiness in all but perfection.
In all but perfection?
Well, dear, it can't be denied that the fact that your husband is to be beheaded in a month is, in its way, a drawback. It does seem to take the top off it, you know.
I don't know about that. It all depends.
At all events, he will find it a drawback.
Not necessarily. Bless you, it all depends.
I think it very indelicate of you to refer to such a subject on such a day. If I'm married, happiness is to be
Cut short.
cut short. In a month. Can't you let me forget it?
Amiens in tears, and on her wedding morn.
Well, they've been reminding me that in a month you're to be beheaded.
We've been reminding her that you're to be beheaded.
It's quite true, you know. You are to be beheaded.
Now, some bridegrooms would be depressed by this sort of thing. A month? Well, what's a month? These divisions of time, they're purely arbitrary. Who says 24 hours make a day?
There's a popular impression to that effect.
Then we'll efface it. We'll call each second a minute, each minute an hour, each hour a day, and each day a year. At that rate, we've about 30 years of married happiness between us.
And at that rate, this interview has already lasted 4 hours and 3/4. And I'm tired.
Yes! How time flies when one is thoroughly enjoying oneself.
That's the way to look at it. Don't let's be downhearted. There's a silver lining to every cloud.
Yes, let's be perfectly happy.
By all means, let's thoroughly enjoy ourselves.
It's absurd to cry.
It's ridiculous. Brightly dawns our wedding day.
Joyous are we give thee greeting, with our heart now fleeting. Fickle moment, prithee stay. Fickle moment, prithee stay.
Go on, don't mind me.
I'm afraid we're distressing you.
Never mind, I must get used to it. Only please do it by degrees. Begin by putting your arm around her waist. There, let me get used to that first.
Surely you'd like to retire. Surely we're distressing you, being so affectionate with one another.
No, I must learn to bear it. Now oblige me by allowing your head to rest on your shoulder.
Like that?
I am much obliged to you. Now, kiss her. Thank you. It's simple torture.
Come, bear up. After all, it's only for a month.
No, it's no use deluding oneself with false hopes.
What do you mean?
How shall I tell her? You can never be mine.
I'm so glad!
I've just ascertained that by the Ducato's law, when a married man is beheaded, his wife is buried alive.
What? Buried alive?
Buried alive. It's a most unpleasant death.
But who did you get that from?
Oh, from Pooh-Bah. He's my solicitor.
Well, surely he's mistaken.
So I thought. So I consulted the Attorney General, the Lord Chief Justice, the Master of the Rolls, the Judge Ordinary, and the Lord Chancellor. They're all of the same opinion. Never knew such unanimity on a point of law in my life.
But stop a bit. This law has never been put into force.
Not yet. You see, flirtation is the only crime punishable with decapitation. And married men never flirt.
Of course they don't. I quite forgot that. Well, I suppose I may take it that my dream of happiness is at an end.
Darling, I don't mean to appear selfish. And I love you with all of my heart. I don't suppose I shall love anybody else half as much. But when I agreed to marry you, my own, I had no idea, pet, that I should have to be buried alive in a month.
Nor I. It's the very first I've heard of it.
Well, it makes a difference, doesn't it?
It does make a difference, of course.
You see, burial alive. It's such a stuffy death.
I call it a beast of a death.
Well, then you see my difficulty, don't you?
Yes, and I see my own. If I insist on you carrying out your promise, I doom you to a hideous death. If I release you, you marry Coco at once.
Here's a howdy-do, if I marry you. When the time has come to perish, then the maiden whom you cherish must be slaughtered too. Here's a howdy-do, here's a howdy-do.
Here's a pretty mess, in a month or less. I must die without a wedding, let the bitter tears I'm shedding witness my distress. Here's a pretty mess, here's a pretty mess.
Here's the state of things, to her life she clings. Matrimonial devotion doesn't seem to suit her notion, burial it brings. Here's the state of things, here's the state of things. With a passion that's intense, a worship God not good, but the laws of common sense we ought to ignore. If what he says is true, 'tis death to marry you. Here's a pretty state of things, here's a pretty howdy-do. Here's a pretty state of things, a pretty state of things.
Here's a howdy-do,
Here's a howdy-do.
Here's a howdy-do.
For if what he says is true, I cannot
marry you. Here's a pretty, pretty state of things. Here's a pretty howdy-do. My poor boy. boy, I'm really very sorry for you.
Thanks, old fellow, I'm sure you are.
You see, I'm quite helpless.
I quite see that.
I can't conceive of anything more distressing than to have one's marriage broken off at the last moment. But you shan't be disappointed of a wedding. You shall come to mine.
That's awfully kind, but that's impossible.
Why so?
Today, I die.
What do you mean?
I can't live without Amiam. This afternoon, I performed the Happy Dispatch.
No, pardon me, I can't allow that.
Why not?
Why, hang it all, you're under contract to die at the hand of the public executioner in a month's time. If you kill yourself, what's to become of me? I shall have to be executed in your place.
It would certainly seem so.
Now then, Lord Mayor, what is it?
The Ducato and his suite are approaching the city and will be here in 10 minutes.
The Ducato? He's coming to see whether his orders have been carried out. Now look here, this is getting serious. You know, a bargain's a bargain, and you really mustn't frustrate the ends of justice by committing suicide. As a man of honor and a gentleman, you are bound to die ignominiously at the hands of the public executioner.
Very well then, behead me.
What, now?
Certainly, at once.
Chop it off, chop it off.
My good sir, I don't go about prepared to execute gentlemen at a moment's notice. Why, I never even killed a blue bottle.
Still, as Lord High Executioner...
My good sir, as Lord High Executioner, I've got to behead him in a month. I'm not ready yet. I don't know how it's done. I'm going to take lessons. I mean to begin with a guinea pig and work my way through the animal kingdom until I come to a second trombone. Why, you don't suppose that as a humane man I'd have accepted the post of Lord High Executioner if I hadn't thought the duties weren't purely nominal? I can't kill you. I can't kill anything. I can't kill anybody.
Come, poor fellow. We all have difficult duties to discharge at times. After all, if I don't mind, why should you? Remember, sooner or later, it must be done.
Must it? Not so sure about that.
What do you mean?
Why should I execute you when making an affidavit that you've been executed would do just as well? Here are plenty of witnesses: the Lord Chief Justice, the First Lord of the Admiralty, the Commander-in-Chief, Secretary of State of the Home Department, First Lord of the Treasury, and Chief Commissioner of Police.
But where are they?
There they are! They'll all swear to it, won't you?
Am I to understand that all of us high officers of state are required to perjure ourselves to ensure your safety?
Why not? You'll be grossly insulted as usual.
Will the insult be cashed down or at a date?
Yes, it will be a ready money transaction.
It will be a useful discipline. Very good. Choose your fiction and I'll endorse it. Ha, family pride. How do you like that, my buck?
But I tell you that life without Amiam...
Amiam! Commissioner, go and fetch Amiam. Take Amiam and marry Amiam, only go away and never come back. Here she is. Amiam, are you particularly busy?
Not particularly.
You've 5 minutes to spare?
Yes?
Then go along with His Grace the Archbishop of Tiramisu. He'll marry you at once.
But if I'm to be buried alive, I'm not going to do that.
Don't ask any questions, but do as I tell you, and Niccolo will explain all.
But one moment.
Not for worlds. The Ducato is coming, no doubt, to ascertain whether I've obeyed his decree. And if he finds you alive, I shall have the greatest difficulty in persuading him that I beheaded you. Close thing that, for here he comes.
from every kind of man. Obedience I expect. I'm the Emperor of Milan.
And I'm his daughter-in-law elect. He will marry his son, he's only got one, to his daughter-in-law elect.
My morals have been declared particularly correct.
But they're nothing at all compared with those of his daughter-in-law elect. Bow to his daughter-in-law elect.
Bow to his daughter-in-law elect.
In a fatherly kind of way, I govern each tribe and sect. All cheerfully own my sway.
Except his daughter-in-law elect, as tough as a boat with the wheel of a rope, is his daughter-in-law elect.
My nature is love and light, my freedom from all defect.
Is insignificant quite compared with his daughter-in-law elect. Bow to his daughter-in-law elect.
Bow to his daughter-in-law elect.
The more humane Ducato never did in Milan exist. To know many second, I'm certainly reckoned a true philanthropist. It is my very humane endeavor to make to some extent each evil liver a running river of harmless merriment. My object all sublime I shall achieve in time, to let the punishment fit the crime, the punishment fit the crime, and make each prisoner pent, unwillingly represent a source of innocent merriment, of innocent merriment. O prosy, dull society sinners who chatter and bleat and bore are sent to his sermons from mystical Germans who preach from 10 till 4. The amateur tenor whose vocal villainies all desire to shirk shall during off hours exhibit his powers to Madame Tussaud's waxwork. The lady who dyes a chemical yellow or stains her grey her puce or pinches her figure is painted with a vigor and permanent walnut juice. The idiot who in railway carriages scribbles on window panes will only suffer to ride on a buffer on Amtrak and Metro North trains. My object sublime I shall achieve in time, to let the punishment fit the crime, the punishment fit the crime, and make each prisoner pent, unwillingly represent the source of innocent merriment, of innocent merriment.
His object all sublime, he will achieve in time, to let the punishment fit the crime, the punishment fit the crime, and make each prisoner pent, unwillingly represent a source of innocent merriment, of innocent merriment.
The advertising quack who wearies with tales of countless cures, his teeth I've enacted shall all be extracted by terrified amateurs. The music hall singer attends a series of masses, fugues, and ops, by Bach interwoven with Spohr and Beethoven and classical Monday pops. The billiard sharp who anyone catches his doom's extremely hard. He's made to dwell in a dungeon cell on a spot that's always barred, and there he plays extravagant matches in fitless finger strolls on a cloth untrue with a twisted cue. an elliptical billiard balls. My object all sublime, I shall achieve in time to let the punishment fit the crime, the punishment fit the crime, and make each prisoner pent, unwillingly represent a source of innocent merriment, of innocent merriment.
His object all sublime, he will achieve in time to let the punishment fit the crime, the punishment fit the crime, and make his prisoner pent, unwillingly represent a source of innocent merriment, of innocent merriment.
I am honored to be permitted to welcome Your Majesty. I guess the object of Your Majesty's visit. Your wishes have been attended to. The execution has taken place.
Oh, you've had an execution, have you?
Yes, the coroner has just handed me his certificate.
I am the coroner.
In tiramisu, in the presence of the Lord Chancellor, Lord Chief Justice, Attorney General, Secretary of State for the Home Department, Lord Mayor, and groom of the second floor front.
They were all present, Your Majesty. I counted them myself.
Ah, a good house. I wish I'd been in time for the performance.
A tough fellow he was, too, a man of gigantic strength. His struggles were terrific. It really was a remarkable scene.
Describe it.
The criminal cried as he dropped him down in a state of wild alarm. With a frightful, frantic, fearful frown, I bared my big right arm. I seized him by the scruff of his neck, and on his knees fell he. As he squirmed and struggled and gurgled, I drew my slicker sleeve. My slicker sleeve. Oh, never shall I forget the cry or the shriek that shrieked he. As I gnashed my teeth, as from its sheath I drew my snicker sleeve.
We know him well, he cannot help but through or drown his tales. He always tries to utter lies, and every time he fails.
He shivered and shook as he gave the sign, the stroke he didn't deserve. When all of a sudden his eye met mine, and it seemed to brace his nerves. For he nodded his head and kissed his hand, and he whistled immediately, as the saber true cut cleanly through his cervical vertebrae. His vertebrae. When a man's afraid, a beautiful maid is a cheering sight to see. And it's so I'm glad that moaning sad was soothed by sight of me.
Oh, tale, you can't assail with truth in quiet agrees. To taste exact for thought is that our mouths to one receives.
Now, though you'd have said that head was dead, for its owner dead was he. It stood on its neck with smile well bred, and bowed 3 times to me. It was none of your impudent offhand nods, but as humble as could be. for it clearly knew the deference due to a man of pedigree. And its oh, I vow, this deathly bow was a taunting sight to see. Though trunkless, yet it couldn't forget the deference due to me.
This haughty youth, he speaks the truth whenever he finds it pays. And in this case, it all took place exactly as he says. Exactly as he says.
Well, also very interesting, and I wish I'd been in time to see it. But we came about an entirely different matter. A year ago, my son, the heir apparent to the throne of Milan, bolted from our imperial court.
Indeed. Did he have any reason to be dissatisfied with his position?
None whatsoever. On the contrary, I was going to marry him, yet he fled.
I am surprised he should have fled from one so lovely.
That's not true.
No.
You hold that I am not beautiful because my face is plain. But you know nothing. You are still unenlightened. Learn then that it is more than the face alone that beauty is to be sought. My face is unattractive.
It is.
But my left shoulder blade is a miracle of loveliness. People come miles to see it. My right elbow has a fascination few can resist.
Oh, allow me.
It is on view on Tuesdays and Fridays on presentation of visiting card. As for its circulation, it is the largest in the world.
And yet he fled.
Yes, and is currently residing in this city, disguised as a second trombone.
A second trombone?
Yes. Would it be troubling you too much to produce him? He goes by the name of Nicolou.
It's quite easy. That is, it's rather difficult. In point of fact, he's gone abroad.
Gone abroad? His address?
Bridgeport.
Ah!
What's the matter?
See here. His name, Nicolou, beheaded this morning. Oh, where shall I find another? Where shall I find another?
Oh, dear, this is most distressing. My good man, it seems that in your anxiety to carry out my wishes, you have beheaded the heir apparent to the throne of Milan.
I beg to offer an unqualified apology.
I desire to associate myself with that expression of regret.
We really hadn't the least notion.
Of course you hadn't. When a distinguished gentleman decides to disguise himself as a second trombone, he must take the consequences. Really, it distresses me to see you carry on like this. I'm very sure he deserved everything he got.
We are infinitely obliged to your majesty.
Much obliged, your majesty.
Very much obliged, your majesty.
Obliged? Don't mention it. How could you tell?
Well, of course, we couldn't tell who the gentleman really was.
It wasn't written on his forehead, you know.
It might have been written on his pocket handkerchief, but the Milanese don't use pocket handkerchiefs.
I forget the punishment for compassing the death of the heir apparent.
Punishment?
Yes. Something humorous and lingering. I think with boiling oil. I think boiling oil occurs in it, I'm not sure. But I know it's something humorous and lingering. With boiling oil or melted lead or something like that. Oh, come now, don't be alarmed. I'm not a bit offended.
If your majesty will accept our assurance, we had no idea.
I knew nothing about it.
I wasn't there.
The fool of an act says compassing the death of the heir apparent. There's not a word in it about not knowing.
No.
Or not being aware.
No.
Or not being there.
No.
There should be, of course. That's the
Yes.
slovenly way these acts are always written. But don't worry, don't be upset. I'll have it altered. Next session. Now, shall we see about your execution? Will after luncheon suit you? Can you wait till then?
Yes.
Oh, yes, we can wait till then.
Very good, then we'll do it after luncheon.
I don't want any lunch.
I'm very sorry for you all, but it's a cruel world, and virtue is triumphant only in theatrical performances. See how the fates their gifts allot, but A is happy, B is not, yet B is worthy, I dare say, of more prosperity than A.
Is B more worthy?
I should say he's worth a great deal more than A.
Yet A is happy, oh so happy, laughing, ha ha, laughing, ha ha, nectar, quaffing, ha ha ha, ever joyous, ever gay. Happy undeserving A, ever joyous, ever gay. Happy undeserving A.
If I were fortune, which I'm not, B should enjoy his happy lot, and A should die in misery. That is assuming I am B.
But should A perish,
That should he, of course, assuming I am B. B should be happy, oh so happy, laughing, laughing, nectar, coughing, but condemned to die is he. Wretched meritorious B, but condemned to die is he. Wretched meritorious B. Well, a nice mess you've gotten us into with your nodding head and the deference due to a man of pedigree.
Merely corroborative detail intended to give artistic verisimilitude to an otherwise bald and unconvincing narrative.
Corroborative detail indeed. Corroborative fiddlestick.
And you're just as bad as he is with your cock and bull stories of catching his eye and whistling in air. But that's so like you. You must put in your oar.
But what about your big right arm?
Yes, and your snicker-snee.
Well, never mind that now. There's only one thing to be done. Nicolou hasn't started yet. He must come to life again at once. Ah, here he is. Here, Nicolou. I've good news for you. You're reprieved.
Oh, it's too late. I'm a dead man. And I'm off for my honeymoon.
Nonsense. A terrible thing has just happened. It seems you're the son of the Ducato.
Yes, but that happened some time ago.
Is this a time for airy persiflage? Your father is here, and with Cattershaw.
My father, and with Kadisha.
Yes, he wants you particularly.
So does she.
Oh, but he's married now.
But bless my heart, what does that have to do with anything?
Kadisha claims me in marriage, but I can't marry her because I'm married already. Consequently, she'll insist on my execution, and if I'm executed, my wife will have to be buried alive.
I don't know what's to be done.
There is one chance for you. If you could persuade Kadisha to marry you.
Yes!
To have no further claim on me, and in that case I could come to life without any fear of being put to death.
I marry Kadisha?
Oh, I really think it's the only course.
But my good girl, have you seen her? She's something appalling.
Oh, that's only her face. She has a left elbow which people come miles to see.
I am told that her right heel is much admired by connoisseurs.
My good sir, I decline to pin my heart upon any lady's right heel.
It comes to this. While Kadisha is single, I prefer to be a disembodied spirit. When Kadisha is married, existence will be as welcome as the flowers in spring. The flowers that bloom in the spring, tra-la, breathe promise of merry sunshine. As we merrily dance and we sing, tra-la, we welcome the hope that they bring. Tra-la, of a summer of roses and wine, of a summer of roses and wine. And that's what we mean when we say that a thing is welcome as flowers that bloom in the spring. Tra-la-la-la-la, tra-la-la-la-la, the flowers that bloom in the spring. Tra-la-la-la-la, tra-la-la-la-la, tra-la-la-la-la.
The flowers that bloom in the spring, tra-la, have nothing to do with the case. I've got to take under my wing, tra-la, a most unattractable thing, tra-la, with a caricature of a face, with a caricature of a face. And that's what I mean when I say or I sing, oh, bother the flowers that bloom in the spring, tra-la-la-la-la, tra-la-la-la-la, oh, bother the flowers of spring.
Tra-la-la-la-la, tra-la-la-la-la. Tra-la-la-la-la-la.
Alone and yet alive. Oh, vengeance pursues. They are heating the cauldron.
Cadishaw, behold a suppliant at your feet. Cadishaw, mercy.
Mercy? Had you mercy on him? See here, you've slain my love. Well, he did not love me, but he would have in time. I am an acquired taste. Only the educated palate can appreciate me. I was educating his palate when he left me. Well, he is dead, and where shall I find another? It takes years to train a man to love me. Am I to go through the weary round again, and at the same time implore mercy on you? Who robbed me of my prey? My pupil, just as his education was at the point of completion. Oh, where shall I find another? Where shall I find another?
Here. Here.
What?
Cadishaw. Cadishaw. For years I have loved you with a white-hot passion that is slowly but surely consuming my very vitals. Ah, shrink not from me. If there is aught of woman's mercy in your heart, turn not away from a love-sick suppliant whose every fiber thrills at your tiniest touch. True it is that under a poor mask of disgust, I have endeavored to conceal a passion whose inner fires are broiling the soul within me. But the fire will not be smothered. It defies all attempts at extinction, and breaking forth all the more eagerly for its long restraint, it declares itself in words that will not be weighed, that should not be schooled, and should not be too severely criticized. Oh, Cadishaw, I dare not hope for your love, but I will not live without it. Darling,
you, whose hands still reek of the blood of my betrothed, dare to utter such words of passion to the woman he who so foully wronged.
I do. Accept my love, or I perish on the spot.
Go to. Who knows so well as I that no one has ever yet died from a broken heart?
You know not what you say. Listen. On a tree by a river, a little tomtit sang willow, tit, willow, tit, willow. And I said to him, Dickie bird, why do you sit singing willow, tit, willow, tit, willow? Is it weakness of intellect, birdie, I cried, or a rather tough worm in your little inside? With a shake of his poor little head, he replied, oh, willow, tit, willow, tit, willow. He slapped at his chest as he sat on that bough, singing willow, tit, willow, tit, willow. And a cold perspiration bespangled his brow. Oh, willow, tit, willow, tit, willow. He sobbed and he sighed, and a gurgle he gave, and he plunged himself into the billowy wave, and an echo arose from the suicide's grave. Tit, willow, tit, willow, tit, willow. Now I feel just as sure as I'm sure that my name isn't willow, titwillow, titwillow. That was blighted affection that made him exclaim, oh willow, titwillow, titwillow. And if you remain callous and obdurate, I shall perish as he did, and you will know why. Though I probably shall not exclaim as I die. Oh willow, titwillow, titwillow.
Did he really die of love?
He really did.
All on account of a cruel little hen?
Yes.
Poor little chap.
It's an affecting tale, and quite true. I knew the bird intimately.
Did you? He must have been very fond of her.
His devotion was something extraordinary.
Poor little chap. And if I refuse you, will you go and do the same?
At once.
Oh, you mustn't. Oh, no, anything but that. Anything but that. Oh, no. Oh, I'm a silly little goose.
You are.
And you won't hate me if I'm a teeny weeny bit bloodthirsty?
Hate you? Oh, Cattashaw, is there not beauty even in bloodthirstiness?
My idea exactly. There's beauty in the bellow of the blast. There's grandeur in the growling of the gale. There's temper in the quarry when the tiger is a-roaring and the tiger is a-lashing of his tail.
Yes, I like to see the tiger from the Congo or the Niger, and especially when lashing of his tail.
Volcanoes have a splendor that is grim, and earthquakes only terrify the dogs. But to him who's scientific, there is nothing that's terrific in the thundering of a flight of thunderbolts.
Yes, in spite of all my meekness, if I have a little weakness, it's a passion for a flight of thunderbolts. If that is so, sing derry down, derry, it's evident, very our tastes are one. Away we'll go, and merrily, merry, no tardily, tarry till day is done. There is beauty in extreme old age. Do you fancy you are elderly enough? Information I'm requesting on a subject interesting. Is a maiden all the better when she's tough?
Throughout the slight opinion, it's a general opinion that she'll last a great deal longer when she's tough.
Are you old enough to marry, do you think? Won't you wait until you're 80 in the shade? There's a fascination frantic in a ruin that's romantic. Do you think you are sufficiently decayed?
Oh, the matter that you mention, I have given some attention, and I think I am sufficiently decayed.
If that is so, sing derry down, derry, it's evident, very our tastes are one. Away we'll go, and merrily, merry, not tardily, till day is done. If that is so, sing derry down, derry, it's evident, very our tastes are one. Away we'll go, and merrily, merry, not tardily, till day is done. Sing derry down, derry, we'll merrily, merry, not tardily, till day is done.
Your Majesty, all is prepared.
Then summon the unfortunate gentleman and his two well-meaning but misguided accomplices.
Mercy, mercy even for Pooh-Bah.
Oh, beg pardon, I didn't quite catch that last expression.
Mercy even for Pooh-Bah.
Mercy. My husband that was to have been is dead, and I've gone and married this miserable object.
You haven't been long about it, have you?
We were married before the registrar.
I am the registrar.
But you see, my difficulty is that inasmuch as you have slain the heir apparent to the throne...
Your apparent is not slain.
Oh! My goodness, my son!
And your daughter-in-law elected.
Traitor, you have deceived me.
Oh, wait. I think you are entitled to a bit of an explanation, but I think he will give it better whole than in pieces.
Your Majesty, it's like this. It is true that I stated that I had killed Nicolou.
Yes, with very affecting particulars.
Merely corroborative detail intended to give artistic verisimilitude to an otherwise...
Will you refrain from putting in your oar? It's like this. When Your Majesty says, let a thing be done, it's as good as done. Practically, it is done, because Your Majesty's will is law. Your Majesty says, kill a gentleman, and a gentleman is told off to be killed. Consequently, that gentleman is as good as dead. Practically, he is dead. And if he is dead, why not say so?
Nothing could be more satisfactory.
For he's gone and married I'm young. Your anger pray bury, for all will be merry. I think you had better succumb. And join our expressions of grief.
On this subject I pray you be dumb. Your notions, though many, are not worth a penny. The word for your guidance is mum. You've a very good bargain in me.
On this subject we pray you be dumb. We think you had better succumb. You'll find there you went from a head. There are lots of fish in the sea. There are lots of fish in the sea. There's lots of fish in the sea. There's lots of fish in the sea.
The threatened cloud is passed away. Northern nights may come too soon. Then let God blow.